Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us at IonQ's College Park headquarters in the heart of the university's Discovery District. Now please welcome to the stage the Governor for the State of Maryland, Wes Moore.
Hello, hello, hello. Hey everybody. Good afternoon. This is an absolutely great day for all of us here in the state of Maryland, but also it's just a great day for this country because we get a chance to see why innovation is so important, why innovation must be invested in, and why innovation is the reason that this will be Maryland's decade. And I could not be more excited to be here with so many friends and leaders inside the room, because as we look around here, we see exactly what is required for sustainable change. That it means that we're going to have our friends in government. It means we're going to have, and also I want to give a special shout out to the many members of the Moore Miller administration who are here. We have like half the cabinet here at this announcement. We have all of our friends in the private sector who, had it not been for your risk-taking and innovation, we would not be here right now. We are here with our friends in higher education who do not just provide the pathway for our future learners and workers and entrepreneurs, but also who serve as larger incubators in and of themselves. And we have our extraordinary nonprofit leaders, the people who understand that change sometimes might have a different IRS classification, but still is going to be uniquely valuable in helping us to get to where we need to get to. That this is what partnership looks like. And partnership produces progress, and nothing else ever will. And I'm excited because this, in many ways, is the answer to all of the challenges and opportunities that this state faces. Because I think that right now, Maryland finds itself in a unique moment because there are two very distinct storms that swirl, right? The first storm is simply the fact that we are currently facing the greatest fiscal crisis that this state has seen in 20 years. A fiscal crisis that's actually even bigger than that of the Great Recession. The second storm is the fact that we have an incoming administration that has the potential to significantly disrupt our state's economy, because Maryland state's economy oftentimes is so intertwined within Washington. And changes and disruptions in Washington in many ways have a distinct impact on Maryland. As people say, when they catch a cold, we catch the flu. That we're uniquely tied. And when I think about the two storms that swirl, there's actually only one phrase that can uniquely get us out of both. Economic growth. Economic growth is the only way that we can deal with those two unique and distinct storms that swirl. Because economic growth is at the center of everything that we hope for and is the key to overcoming every single challenge that sits in front of us. And anyone who simply thinks that you can tax your way to prosperity does not know what they're talking about. But anyone who also thinks that you can just cut your way to prosperity does not know what they're talking about either. The answer is, as a state, we need to grow. Because our economy has been stagnant for well over a decade. The fact that Maryland, over a 7-year period before the administration came on board, that the budget had grown by 70%, but GDP grew by 3%. GDP grew by less than half of the national average. So here was what happening to Maryland. We were spending, we just weren't growing. And that, in essence, is how you get to the largest fiscal crisis that we have now had in 2 decades. And so we said there are a few unique things that we are going to have to do to be able to address it. One is we've got to focus on increasing efficiency and modernization, and that is why just a few days ago I signed the most expansive executive order, the Government Modernization Initiative, that focuses exclusively on making sure that we can identify places to cut costs, identify places to make our state more efficient, and identify places where we can make Maryland the most efficient state in the entire country. That we said that we have to be able to reform a tax code. And you will see tomorrow that I'm releasing this year's proposed budget from our administration that says we have got to make our taxes in the state of Maryland simpler, fairer, and for the vast majority of Marylanders, lower. And that is why you will see in the proposed budget that we will release tomorrow that 82% of Marylanders are about to either get a tax cut or have no impact on their taxes at all, that we are not going to raise sales taxes, we are not going to raise property taxes, and in the first time in a long time, Maryland will have a corporate tax cut as well. But also, it means we've got to invest. Because if you're not investing, you're simply managing decline. And I refuse to have this time and this moment with the talent that we have on the field for Maryland to be a state that is just simply going to manage decline. So you will see that today I am proud to unveil an economic growth agenda for the 2025 legislative session. Maryland, if we grow, we win. And we're going to grow. Towards the end of last year, I signed an executive order laying out the key priorities for our agenda. First, we need to cut the red tape and make it easier to start and grow a business in the state of Maryland. It should never take a place or a company 3 years to get a permit. Those days are going to be long gone in the state of Maryland. The second, we need to focus and invest in industries like life sciences and IT and aerospace and defense and unique places where Maryland has a unique competitive advantage to move first, to move fast. There is no reason why these other jurisdictions should be beating the state of Maryland in high growth industries, and from here on out, they will not. The third, we need to stay better coordinated and aligned with our local jurisdictions. And the steps we are taking today will help all of those actions come to fruition. So tomorrow, when we unveil our plan for a balanced state budget, which you will see, we have a plan to unveil a balanced state budget. Our proposal, you will see, includes $750 million for economic growth and workforce development. But I do want to be clear. This is not just about ways that we are going to put money and invest money. It's about prioritizing the areas of our state that drive the most growth. It's about prioritizing the leverageable assets that need to be supported, because not only are they the globe's best, they are tethered to us. So why we would not accelerate their growth doesn't make sense. And to explain our thinking here, in many ways I'm actually reminded of my time in the military. Because in the military you are always taught to backtrack, right? Come up with your objective and then work it backwards. Identify all the individual steps that need to happen in order for your objective, which was set out at the top, to be able to be hit. But frankly, historically, that's not how the state has done its business. The way the state has done its business many times is said, it's screaming, take the hill, and having no idea where the hill is. You can't win that way, guys. Name another state that has better assets than us. Name another state that has assets like the U.S. Cyber Command. Name another state that has assets like the NSA. Name another state that has assets like NIST. Name another state that has assets like Fort Meade. Name another state that has assets like the U.S. Naval Academy. Name another state that has assets like the University of Maryland College Park. From our universities to our federal labs to our biotech cluster. But while we have these assets, oftentimes we have been asset rich and strategy poor. We haven't prioritized the areas that need to be prioritized. Well, today that changes. In this moment, that changes. And the work that is happening with so many of you in this room, that is going to be the reason why. Because also, but wait, there's more. Because also, you will see in the budget we will release tomorrow, I am proposing $128 million in targeted and strategic investments towards specific areas that will strengthen Maryland's competitiveness with our neighbors. We will create good-paying jobs, we will cultivate top talent, and we will make it easier for businesses to be able to choose Maryland, to stay in Maryland, to grow in Maryland, and to invest in Marylanders. We're increasing funding for critical state programs like the Build Our Future program to support new companies on the leading edge of innovation. We're bolstering support for Manufacturing 4.0 to build out advanced manufacturing inside of our state, because advanced manufacturing, yes, is another place. There should be no state that is beating the state of Maryland in advanced manufacturing. We're also partnering with the private sector in higher education to be able to catalyze investment and grow our workforce and to strengthen core industries. We'll propose new investments in BioHub Maryland and BioHub Maryland, that's right, Kathy. And Cyber Maryland to strengthen the talent pipelines in jobs in cyber and biotech. We will propose new investments in redevelopment in Trade Point Atlantic, one of the greatest commercial assets of our state. We will propose new investments in the downtown Frederick Hotel project. We got some Frederick representation over here. Shout out Western Maryland. To build out a community that is the center of Maryland's economic growth. We will propose new investments and programs to operate cyber ranges at our community colleges so students can get training for jobs in cyber. We are investing in a new academic facility at Johns Hopkins University to bolster the university's current efforts on data science and artificial intelligence. And we are providing new funding to our friends at IonQ, the global leader in quantum computing. So I got to tell y'all, I had the joy of joining, actually I was joining my friend Ken Ullman and also Dr. Pines earlier. This was a little over, I guess it's about 2 years ago when I was a candidate, when I first got a chance to tour the facility. And I walk in and this place is like brand new. When you see the kind of growth that has happened in just a couple years, when you see the new employees who have been hired in just a couple years, when you look at the fact that we were just in a room back here where 80% of the globe's quantum computing took place in that room. This is exciting, guys. This is innovation. This is entrepreneurship. This is risk-taking. This is winning. And this is Maryland. Exactly the way it should be. And I'm so thankful to IonQ because it's not just that you all were born in Maryland. I'm thankful that you stuck with Maryland. I'm thankful that you stayed and invested. I'm thankful that you believed that this really is Maryland's decade, because this really is going to be Maryland's decade. And I got to tell you, Peter, you have always been committed to us. And I'm telling you right here publicly, the state of Maryland will always be committed to you and your growth and your success, and you have my word on that. Because what we're seeing at IonQ, this is a rare success story. But here is the hard truth that today helps to understand, that IonQ should not be the exception, it should be the rule. That I'm so proud of the success that you all have had. I just don't want you to feel lonely. Maryland is uniquely positioned to lead in these high-tech industries. From quantum computing, to biocomputing, to cybersecurity. And through these investments that you will see in the budget that we are laying out tomorrow, Maryland will lead in these industries. The strategic investments in our budget will drive $515 million in economic activity in Maryland and support, create, or retain 2,600 jobs. And taken together, these jobs amount to a combined $210 million of income for hard-working Marylanders. Our $128 million investment will drive $515 million in economic activity in Maryland and support and create new opportunities for people in our state who are not just from Maryland, but who are going to stay. And you'll see in the coming days that I'm going to roll out 4 bills as part of our legislative agenda. The first is called the Decade Act. The second is called the Procurement Reform Act. And by the way, that piece of legislation will make the procurement process more fair, more transparent, and accountable. It expands opportunities for small, minority, and women and veteran-owned businesses to compete for state contracts. And it says that if the state of Maryland is going to invest billions of dollars in contracts, it needs to be with Marylanders and Maryland businesses. The third is called the RAISE Act, and what the RAISE Act does is the RAISE Act actually features and promotes increasing the number of actions to be able to accelerate the apprenticeship and trade platforms within the state of Maryland. Since our administration has come on board, we have not doubled, we have not tripled, we have quadrupled the amount of apprentices in the state of Maryland, because we love our four-year institutions in the state of Maryland. We do. But we are also going to end the myth that every single one of our students must attend one of them in order to be economically successful, create pathways for people to find work, wages, and wealth, no matter where their start or no matter where their design endpoint might be. And the fourth bill that I'll introduce will be the Housing for Jobs Act. This legislation seeks to address the top line item that is putting pressure on Maryland families and Maryland budgets: housing costs. No matter where I go in the state, no matter who I'm talking to, housing costs is one of the first things that they will talk about. One of the first things that I talk about when I hear from students who are saying, I have a unique job opportunity here in the state of Maryland, but you know what I cannot find? Affordable housing. Talking to people who are moving from one jurisdiction to another jurisdiction, they say, one of the challenges I have in moving is I cannot find something at the value that my paycheck correlates to. That we've got to be able to increase inventory. That we've got to make it easier for our public servants, like our teachers and our police officers and our firefighters, to know that they should have support and help when it comes to doing things like the basics, like being able to put a down payment on a home that they're looking to buy in a neighborhood that they are working in. Because if we do not address housing, we will never unlock this state's full potential. You'll receive more details about each of these 4 bills in the coming days, along with the rest of our legislative agenda. But I do want to be clear, this agenda is big, this agenda is bold, this agenda ensures that we are listening to the people of this state. This agenda is Maryland. And you will see that in this agenda, the last item that I'm going to highlight is that part of our agenda and part of our budget proposes $27.5 million for a new Capital of Quantum initiative here in the state of Maryland. This initiative will be a joint venture between the state, the University of Maryland, IonQ, and other partners in the quantum computing space, and the goal is very, very simple: to make Maryland the capital quantum of the world. Over the next 5 years, we will work together to unlock over $1 billion of public, we like big numbers, of public and private investment in Maryland's quantum sector. And I do understand, because I know there are a lot of people who are like, quantum computing, it sounds very niche-y or very nerdy, and I like that kind of stuff. But I do want to remind people, yeah, the nerds are great. I'm with you, Rona. Team nerd. But I do want to remind people of how far we have come. Because remember, just a few years ago, artificial intelligence sounded like it was niche and nerdy too, right? Now, it is commonplace. Quantum is going to drive advancement across sectors faster than we think, from pharmaceutical research to cybersecurity. And Maryland is uniquely positioned to make a big bet on this critical industry that will define our shared future. We are not going to catch our competitors in the future by using tools of the past. We are not going to win the future unless we change our strategy. We must grow. We must invest. We must use data. We must make it easier for Marylanders to be able to stay in Maryland. We must make it easier for businesses to choose Maryland. We must make sure that we are modernizing a tax code and making it simpler and fairer and lower for the majority of Marylanders. And we've got to invest in industries that we know that are going to help us to win the decade, because in 2030, I want us to look back and to see a state that finally applied itself. I want us to look back and see a state that finally applied a strategy to economic development. In 2030, I want us to look back and see an economy that grew faster than anyone expected. In 2030, I want us to look back and see good-paying jobs in leading industries of the future. That's our vision. But we cannot accomplish it alone. It's going to take all of you. It's going to take all our friends in the General Assembly. It's going to take all our friends in the business sector and academia. It's going to take the partnership of every single Marylander and every single soon-to-be Marylander, because that's how I view the world. It's Marylanders and it's soon-to-be Marylanders. It's going to take all of us, guys. But I know if we meet this moment, we're not losing. We win. That's what we do. And so I am so excited to be with you here today with these announcements. And I'm so excited that every day I get to have a leader and a friend who I have as my partner inside of this work, our fantastic Lieutenant Governor, Aruna Miller.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be in gorgeous Prince George's, right? So I got to tell you, it's always difficult to follow the governor after he speaks, okay? Let me tell you, most recently I was at an event where the governor spoke, and then it was my turn to speak. Well, 80% of the room left with the governor so they could do selfies with him. So, Governor, please stay seated. Do not leave, okay? I will appreciate that. So, how many of you here are sci-fi movie fans? Yep. Yeah. I am a big sci-fi movie fan, and my favorite movie is The Matrix. You know, the idea of bending reality, of unlocking infinite possibilities, it's mind-blowing. But here's the thing. Right here in Maryland, we're doing something that feels just like mind-bending as stepping into the matrix. Quantum computing doesn't just bend reality. It redefines it, solving problems in ways we never, ever thought possible. Whether it is in privacy, climate change, finance, healthcare, artificial intelligence, or technology. And so today, it's inspiring to be here with so many of you that are visionary leaders, innovators, and public servants who are driving Maryland's economic and technological future. Governor Moore, thank you for your leadership, your unwavering belief in Maryland's potential. It's been the greatest privilege of my life to be beside you and to serve alongside of you for the people we love, Marylanders. To Peter Chapman and the entire IonQ team, thank you for leading the charge in quantum innovation and demonstrating to the world that Maryland is where infinite possibilities become reality. The impact of your work is nothing short of extraordinary. As Peter Chapman has said, quote, "We're talking about solving problems in 1 second that it would take 300 trillion years on the world's largest supercomputer." That's not just innovation, it's a revolution. And I am so proud to be able to be here with all of you to support all the innovation that you are doing. And to the university president, Darrell Pines, thank you for your tireless efforts to prepare the next generation of leaders and innovators. President Pines, as you know, I'm a proud mom of 2 Terps. And because of the fantastic education that they received right here at UMD, they turned out to be some of my favorite kind of people, taxpayers. And they are contributing to the world in positive ways each and every single day. So thank you for that, President Pines. As you heard from the governor earlier, today's announcement is significant. Governor Moore and I believe that quantum is as one of the best opportunities we have as a state to grow. By leading in quantum computing, Maryland is establishing itself as a capital of innovation, built on deliberate investments in people, ideas, and institutions that are shaping the future. While Governor Moore, as you heard earlier, went into the details of our economic agenda for the state of Maryland and all the initiatives, it's clear that every one of these investments go beyond just technology. They create opportunities, equip workers, support entrepreneurs, and ensure progress reaches every corner of our state. Together, we're building an economy as bold and as visionary as the people who drive it. And just like in the Matrix, we're not confined by the boundaries of what we know. We're breaking through them. Maryland's isn't just preparing for the future, we're creating it, we're defining it, and we're leading it. And the architects of this epic story are each and every single one of you. So thank you.
Distinguished guests, please welcome CEO, President, and Chairman of the Board for IonQ, Peter Chapman.
Thank you. Thank you. First, I'm going to start. Thank you, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, President Pines, and all of you for coming today. It's amazing. I've been at IonQ coming up on 6 years. And when I first started here, I think we were raising money at that time at about a $20 million valuation. And so in those 5 or 6 years, we've gone from 30 people and a $20 million valuation to today, $1 billion valuation and 450 people. It also allowed us to go out to the capital markets and raise something on the order of about $700 million. So this kind of partnership between private and public allowed us to be able to come and make a much larger investment than even the government it could do itself. And if you look at how us, not only in Maryland, but in the United States, how we win against places like China, is that partnership between public and private. And that's how we compete. But it does require both. It's a public and private partnership that turns out and allowing our innovation to compete on a world stage. That's the thing as Americans we have that no one else does. And so I look here in Maryland, just in the 5 or 6 years, which is a blink, even just walking down the street down here as to what's going on. If you just walk in the neighborhood and see what's going on in College Park, it's nothing but short of a miracle. And so you can see, unfortunately, some of the construction out front, but that's just progress in the middle of happening. When I joined, we were 30 people, and we were in the front where the Q Lab is today. And where you are right now was actually an abandoned furniture warehouse. There was water coming through the ceiling. There was no windows in this building. I don't think there was air conditioning in this building. Barely had heat. And so we went through with the state and the University of Maryland to rehab this into the Class A office space you're sitting in today. That not only supported IonQ and our ability to expand, but also just the numerous jobs that it took to be able to build this building. Many different kinds of people were required to help get us where we are today. Plumbers, electricians, construction staff, and all the rest. And if you look at what we're doing now, as we start to move into a manufacturing phase, we'll be expanding even greater than the kinds of people that we need to employ into the future. So IonQ, I think, is a little bit of the poster child for the Discovery District. And so as the first one to kind of go from a University of Maryland spin-out now to a public company. And certainly we look to support and help many other companies to do exactly that here. And I'll just point out a little bit in the time that we are in right now. In some sense, it's like the 1970s for the computer industry. We're just coming up to the point where the quantum computers are powerful enough that you could start to write software applications, quantum software applications, that will be impactful for the rest of us. In the PC industry, it was the word processor and the spreadsheet were the two killer applications that suddenly everyone said, I need to have one of those. Those opportunities are still ahead for us in quantum computing. And so I hope that here in Maryland, those companies, not IonQ, but new startups will appear that will be just as large as those companies that back in the 1970s. And you can point to their roots. And it started with these initiatives that we started today. So we are, for quantum computing, just at the birth. The technology that we're talking about here is actually unimaginable computing power. It's hard to explain to kind of the layman as to what the possibilities are. As you mentioned, just a single one of our processors is that it would take 300 trillion years in the future to be able to do what a single processor can do. And that's just the beginning. So the kinds of things that we expect to do is to power pharma, optimization problems, AI. We're also expanding into quantum networking to build the quantum internet of the future. So the opportunities seem almost unlimited. And so we look forward to building that future with the university and with the state. And we couldn't be more proud to be here. So thank you again. Thank you for your time today. It really is our honor. We would not be here today. I would not be standing in front of you if it hadn't been for Daryl Pines. And it is my great honor to present him next. Thank you.
So, good afternoon, everyone. So I'm like Lieutenant Governor Miller. I'm a nerd. And I'm so much of a nerd that I wore my nerd socks, and I just need to show you those. They're all mathematical equations, because it took a lot of math and physics to get to where we are today, right? So let's say, how about a round of applause for the mathematicians and the physicists? So I say, first of all, welcome to IonQ. Second, welcome to the University of Maryland. Welcome to Prince George's County. And welcome to the capital of quantum. It is truly an honor and privilege to be here at IonQ, whose technology was born almost a decade ago out of physics laboratories in the Joint Quantum Institute. And we're just excited to host you all today on this really incredible day. And we couldn't have two better champions of higher education and economic growth in the state of Maryland than Governor Wes Moore and Lieutenant Governor Aruna Miller. Today's announcement is just another demonstration of when you have the right people and the right leadership and the right strategy, anything is possible, and the impossible becomes possible. And as Governor Moore always says, this is Maryland's decade. This is Maryland's moment, and that is why we are all here today. IonQ, one of our unicorn startups, really symbolizes and embodies all of our potential of the state of Maryland. So I'd like to thank Peter Chapman for making the decision to take on this challenge to lead IonQ. He didn't have to do it. He's had an incredible career. If I told you about Peter's career, you wouldn't believe it. But you being here, Peter, shows your commitment to this technology and to the state of Maryland and to the university, and I am grateful for your partnership. Because IonQ represents the power of higher education, the creativity of our researchers, the promise of our technology, and the synergy of collaborations between the public and private sectors. It is the chief example of how we place our resources in order to leverage investments, catalyze partnerships, and ultimately fill the sails of our ship to move our state toward a more prosperous future for all of its citizens. Quantum computing, quantum networks, quantum communication, quantum sensors, and quantum devices all hold immense promise. And that's why the University of Maryland has dedicated more than 35 years, hundreds of researchers, hundreds of PhDs, hundreds of postdocs, and 10 strategic research centers started first by something called the Joint Quantum Institute in its pursuit to create what you are seeing today, the capital of quantum. Thank you. Through this emerging technology, one day we will be able to make exponential advances in areas such as cryptography, materials design and development, new battery technology, quantum networks, precision navigation and timing, a field that I have lived my entire life in, and yes, of course, artificial intelligence. Advances that will start right here at IonQ and the University of Maryland eventually, yes, eventually, change the world for the better. This new state funding, combined with the more than $200 million that our university is committing over the next 5 years, are the foundation of what we expect to one day grow into a more than $1 billion quantum initiative combining government, higher education, and the private sector's resources. Thank you. This will allow us to recruit more incredible and creative quantum scientists and engineers and the skilled experts needed to support the national security and intelligence complex, leveraging quantum projects conducted by our very own Applied Research Laboratory for Intelligence and Security, commonly known as ARLIS. It will allow us to expand access to the National Quantum Laboratory right here at IonQ, a unique partnership between IonQ that provides students, researchers, and entrepreneurs from around the world with hands-on access to quantum computers in the cloud. I would also like to take this unique opportunity to recognize the director of the Q Lab, who is with us today and we just hired. His name is Dr. Norbert Linke. If you could stand, Dr. Linke, please give him a round of applause. He flew up here from North Carolina to be here today. We're happy to have you to come back home to the University of Maryland and our physics department. These new investments would also allow us to bolster the Quantum Startup Foundry, a business accelerator based right here in the Discovery District that provides resources and support new entrepreneurs to create the ecosystem for growth. And it will allow us to launch the education, outreach, and training initiatives needed to create the curriculum, degrees, certificates, and programs for the next generations of Maryland's workforce. Governor Moore's economic agenda, of course, extends beyond quantum to other key sectors that you heard from him, including life sciences, information technology and cybersecurity, and of course, aerospace and defense, which are all core strengths of the state of Maryland. Each of these is an area where Maryland has the universities, federal labs, corporate partners, and connections to make a move and make sure that this truly is Maryland's decade. So I thank you once again for being here and making such a big commitment to the capital of quantum, but to more importantly, to be fearless in our future for all Marylanders. As the president of the University of Maryland, all that is left to be said is go Terps! Thank you.
Thank you for joining us at IonQ's College Park headquarters. Please enjoy some light refreshments.